Alright guys, what is up? So I saw the new Halloween movie last night. I'm here to talk about it. It's crazy that it's here. I mean, I remember last year when they first announced it, everybody was so happy to see the movie. Everybody that I follow on Instagram, everybody's really pumped for it. I was a little bit disappointed because I did get the ending spoiled for me, and the reason why is because the soundtrack came out on iTunes early. You couldn't buy it or anything, but they had the list of the song names on there, and it did sort of hint at what happened at the end. I was really disappointed, and I think they did show too much stuff in the promotional material and all that, and like the trailers. But I was still pretty impressed for the most part. The way I'm going to do this review is I'm going to give a non-spoiler review first, and then towards the halfway mark, I'm going to get into the spoilers for people that, just for a discussion, people that have seen the movie and all that. So I'll let you know whenever I'm going to get into spoiler territory. So yeah, so I'll make sure that I don't spoil anything for you guys. So yeah, I'll give you guys enough time to click off the video. So the new movie titled Halloween, just like the original one and just like Rob Zombie's Halloween, so they're just calling it Halloween. Well, it's set 40 years after the events of the first movie. They pretty much said, forget all the other movies, we're only focusing on the first movie, and they made a sequel to it. So for some reason, it did not give me the vibe of the original one. I know a lot of people were saying that it gave them the vibe of the original, and it didn't do that for me. And I'm a huge Halloween fan, and I'm a huge fan of when it comes to atmosphere and stuff. Like, I mean, I even went as far as buying the unrated and the theatrical versions of Rob Zombie's Halloween, and I went out and bought the producer's cut of The Curse of Michael Myers, and then I got the box set because I wanted to see the different versions. I love Halloween. It's one of my favorite horror movie franchises of all time. And for some reason, it didn't feel like the original. It lives up to it in terms of a sequel for the most part, but I didn't get that vibe. Now, the movie itself is really good, but I was really disappointed. So it might sound like I'm dissing on the movie a lot, but I'm really not, because I am going to give it the score that it does deserve. It was just where I was so pumped for it and I was so ready. There was just some things about the movie that I didn't like. It didn't sit well with me, and I will not spoil it. I'll get into the spoilers later on. The acting, I thought the acting was good. I thought it could have been a little bit better, but the acting itself was really good. The atmosphere overall was good. The soundtrack, I might piss some people off. I had a lot of people agree with me so far on this. I would go as far as saying that the new Halloween soundtrack is better than the original. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. It is the best score in the Halloween franchise. Overall, it really is. One of the things I really liked is Michael. Michael and Laurie steal the show in this movie. They are the two main, well, obviously they're the main people, but they steal the show. I mean, seeing Michael Myers, seeing Laurie Strode on the big screen, it was great. I mean, it was so good seeing them battle it off. I wish Laurie wasn't this big gun nut prepared woman like she was. I felt like whenever Laurie saw Michael Myers in H2O for the first time, whenever like they were looking at each other through the window or whatever, first time she had seen him in 20 years, that was really impactful. And she wasn't really that ready. She just thought about it a lot. 40 years has passed. And I wish Laurie in this movie would have just been like a casual, older woman going about her days, not worrying about Michael Myers, and then seeing him. Like, 40 years, that's a lifetime for the most part, for some people. But 40 years is a long time. A long time. It's a very long time. And it would have just been so impactful for her to just be carving a pumpkin outside after all these years and then just look up and see Michael Myers standing there, instead of her being this woman that is prepared. But it still worked, and I still really liked it. One of the things that I disliked about the movie was the comedy. Now, the comedy wasn't, well, I liked it. It was a nice addition, but I felt like this is the first Halloween to actually use comedy in the movie. And what I mean by that is actual comedy. Comedy that's meant to be funny. Like, I mean, comedy that actually is meant to be funny. Resurrection, sure, it had some goofy stuff in it, but it was just characters, doing their thing, being themselves. So if the character just so happened to be funny, then they were funny. I mean, that's just how it was. And in Rob Zombie's Halloween, it was funny, but it was funny because of the characters. Like, you had that one dude or whatever, when he's telling his wife or whatever, I'll pig fuck the fuck out of you. I'll take this frying pan and beat you with it, bitch. Like, it's not funny, but it makes you laugh from the way that he says it. So they're not trying to be funny. They're just making the characters be themselves. And considering this movie was written by David Gordon Green and Danny McBride, people who are known for their comedy, you can tell that it definitely does stick out in this movie. Like, I'll get into that later on in spoiler territory. But yeah, the overall, the movie itself, it's very good. It's very solid. I hated the ending. Okay, that's another thing I hated. I hated the ending. I won't get into it, but I really hated it. I hated the ending. Could not stand it. It was horrible. I really despised the ending. But other than that, the movie is good, and a lot of people will enjoy it for sure. My final score for Halloween is an 8 out of a 10. It is a very good movie. It's one of the best Halloween sequels out there, so I would definitely recommend you go check it out. Now, you have 5 seconds to get off this video because I am going to go ahead and go into spoiler territory now on what I didn't like about the movie and sort of a spoiler review just for a discussion for people that have seen it. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You've been warned. So, this is my spoiler review. So, the very first part of the movie was the most impactful part in the movie. When they hold up the mask to Michael Myers and they show it to him, that's whenever you can tell that that man is absolutely straight up pure evil. He is pure evil, and it is just him sitting there and doing nothing. Like, Michael Myers in this movie was more menacing than I've ever seen Michael Myers. Rob Zombie's Halloween, he was menacing, but he was menacing just for the gore. This Michael Myers, on the other hand, he is menacing, but he is still showing his true form from the first movie. So I felt like Michael Myers really did work. But one thing about him that I did not like in this movie was some of the kills. He did a lot of kills that I would not have seen Michael Myers do. Choking, stabbing, fine. A little bit of gore, cool. That's how I see Michael Myers killing people. But there's a scene in the movie where he decapitates somebody and carves his head out like a pumpkin and then puts something in it. Michael Myers wouldn't do that. Especially John Carpenter's Michael Myers. He would not do that. I'm sorry, but he wouldn't. And I felt like they were just being a little bit too extra with that. One thing that I did really like about the movie were the characters. Laurie Strode's daughter and granddaughter, interesting characters. The little kid that the girl is babysitting, he is hilarious, but that comes into play with how the comedy didn't work. The comedy in this movie is forced, and you can tell that sometimes it goes from being a horror movie to straight up comedy. Like, there's this one kid, he's like sitting there, he's like clipping my dirty ass toenails. Everybody in the movie theater rolled. It was hilarious. It really wasn't. I enjoyed it. And I felt like it did work, but it felt misplaced. It felt out of place. It felt way out of place. And then there's another scene where when the bus crashes, and you don't get to see how the bus crashed, which I really liked. But, you know, it didn't make any sense because the dude was walking, like, it made sense, but the dude was like walking or whatever, and he was like, well, we didn't find Michael, but we found these 3 people chasing butterflies near a flea market. You can tell that he was just, it was trying to be funny. And then there was another scene where this dude opens up and he's like, here's my lunch, and it's a brownie and a pudding, and the dude's like, that's lunch for a 5-year-old. And then probably the funniest scene in the movie was when the kid trips because he really likes this girl and she leaves him, Laurie's granddaughter, and he looks up and he sees Michael Myers sitting there and he's just staring at him, and he's like, man, have you ever just wanted a girl so bad and you just can't have her? That was hilarious, but it felt really forced. And then now we're getting into the ending. The ending of the movie was just, it was horrible. And it did not do Jamie Lee Curtis. It did not do Laurie Strode any justice whatsoever. Now, I did hear that they did reshoot the ending. They had to reshoot the ending. I hope they had the original ending in the Blu-ray because I want to see how that ending was. Because honestly, they should have just kept the ending that they were originally going with. They really should have, because the ending for this was absolutely horrible. It was horrendous. It was absolutely garbage. Pretty much, she sets her house on fire. Michael Myers, like, fire comes up and consumes him, and he's just looking up at her, and that's it. You don't see him burn, you don't see anything, and then, like, when it zooms out on the basement or whatever, and it shows the basement, Michael Myers isn't there anymore, assuming he escaped, because they did have this movie set up for a sequel. And then Laurie Strode just leaves. I'm sorry, but Laurie Strode in this movie would not have left. She would have sat there and watched that house burn to the ground. She would have watched that house burn to the ground, and she would have looked for Michael's remains. She wouldn't have, just, no, that would not have happened. So the ending itself did not do its justice whatsoever. Another thing is the Loomis character in this, the person who took over from Dr. Loomis. There was a scene in the movie where which it makes sense, he ends up investigating Michael so much that he ends up becoming crazy himself and wants to know what Michael feels. So he kills the sheriff, right? He kills the sheriff. And then he puts on the mask and then walks up to, like, Laurie's granddaughter. No sense. I'm sorry, but he should have just pulled out the dude's gun and held it up to him and said, get in the car. That would have made more sense. And then been like, I'm trying to get Michael Myers in there together with them, because that's how Michael Myers ends up over there. That would have made the most sense. That just felt really silly, and I did hear that a lot of people that almost drew me away from the movie. I remember looking at my girlfriend and I was like, no, and she was just smiling at me because she could tell how disappointed I was. That scene was completely pointless. How they should have done the movie, honestly, how they should have done the movie, and a lot of people probably wouldn't like this, but they should have just had him escape. Should have had him escape, had his mask, and had his, his pants and stuff like that, and his coveralls, and not even shown how he got it. Because it just so happens that the podcast people popped up and to a gas station that just so happened to have a mechanic there. And I get it, it's supposed to be a movie. But it just fit together perfectly. What it should have happened, it should have showed Laurie Strode sitting there with her pumpkin, carving it, seeing a thing saying that a bus had crashed, and then her look out and see Michael Myers standing there. And then the movie be like the original with him slashing people around or her trying to get away. But maybe not see him until the end of the movie. Let him go ahead slashing people, and as she's giving out candy, she sees him. But she doesn't know if it's him because it's Halloween 40 years later. And then the end of the movie should have had her killing Michael Myers, stabbing him taking off the mask, and him telling her why he went after her because she's not his brother, so that's not the motive anymore. And then her putting a stop to him after all. That's how I would have done the movie. I know a lot of you guys would definitely think different, and that's fine. We're all entitled to our opinion. But what we can agree on, though, I'm pretty sure, is it was a decent movie. It was a well-made movie. It was well-crafted. There was a lot of dumb decisions in the movie for sure, but that's fine because we got to see Michael Myers on the big screen. We got to see Laurie Strode on the big screen, and it was great. It was a fun time. We're going to get a sequel. We already know this, but it was still fun. We all enjoyed it, and I'm pretty sure we all enjoyed it. I know a lot of people, there are some people that despise the movie. I've seen a couple of 1-star ratings. But overall, though, if you're a hardcore Halloween fan, you're going to be disappointed. But if you're a casual Halloween fan, then you'll be okay with it. Maybe some hardcore people might be okay with it too. Anyway, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you guys want to follow me on my social media, link will be down in the description. Like I said, I hope you guys really enjoyed the new Halloween movie. Let me know what you guys thought of the Halloween movie in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next time.